learning now that the murder of a mother killed outside of a Dunkin' was planned for months by these two people here in the middle. An investigator saying...
Love, they say, is one of the most powerful emotions, capable of bringing immense joy and fulfillment. Yet, in rare and tragic cases, love twisted by jealousy and obsession can lead to devastating consequences. It can transform into a force so destructive that it shatters lives and leaves lasting scars. For Rachel King, a beloved teacher, mother, and friend, love entangled with betrayal and obsession led to her untimely death, a heartbreaking reminder of how even the most precious life can be destroyed when love turns toxic. Rachel and Jalen had a morning routine that reflected their close bond. They would often share breakfast together and talk about their plans for the day. On this particular morning, Rachel was taking Jalen to his violin lesson before school. They planned to grab a quick breakfast at their local Dunkin' Donuts, a familiar stop in the Melrose shopping center. Rachel, driving her Ford Edge SUV, pulled into the drive-through lane around 7:30 a.m., unaware that danger was lurking just moments away. For Jalen, this was a normal day. Seated in the back seat, he might have been thinking about his violin lesson, school, or the weekend ahead. Rachel, always attentive, likely had her mind on her busy schedule. But in an instant, their peaceful morning routine would be forever shattered. Unknown to Rachel, a light-colored sedan had pulled into the shopping center and parked nearby. Inside was 34-year-old Zaki Stephen Al-Hakim, a man who had been following her movements for weeks. His purpose that morning was chillingly clear. He stepped out of his car, gun in hand, and approached Rachel's vehicle. What happened next was sudden and violent. Without uttering a word, Al-Hakim fired multiple shots through the driver's side window of Rachel's SUV. The sound of gunfire pierced the air, startling nearby customers and employees at Dunkin' Donuts. Rachel was struck several times, collapsing in her seat. For Jalen, the scene was a nightmare. The boy, too young to fully grasp the horror unfolding before his eyes, was left frozen in fear. He had no way of understanding why someone would attack his mother, and the trauma of that moment would leave emotional scars that no child should ever have to bear. Emergency responders arrived on the scene quickly after receiving recurring 911 calls about the shooting. Paramedics found Rachel slumped over in the driver's seat. Despite their efforts, it was too late to save her. Rachel King was pronounced dead at the scene. Her death left a gaping hole in the lives of those who loved her and sent shockwaves through the Cheltenham community. The question on everyone's mind was simple yet agonizing. Why? Why would anyone target Rachel, a devoted mother and teacher, in such a cold-blooded manner? Was this a random act of violence, or had someone deliberately planned her murder? As investigators began their work, the answers they uncovered would reveal a deeply unsettling story. Rachel's life was one of kindness and dedication. She was admired not only by her students but also by her colleagues, friends, and neighbors. Her bright smile and encouraging words had touched countless lives, and the news of her murder spread quickly, leaving a community in mourning. A memorial quickly grew outside the Dunkin' Donuts, with flowers, candles, and notes left by those who wanted to honor her memory. But as much as Rachel's loved ones wanted to remember her for the life she lived, they also needed answers. The authorities worked tirelessly to uncover the truth, knowing that justice for Rachel was the only way to bring some measure of peace to her grieving family and friends. The first clues came from the crime scene itself. Detectives collected 6 spent shell casings near Rachel's vehicle, a vital piece of evidence that would later connect the crime to its perpetrators. Surveillance footage from Dunkin' Donuts provided another critical lead. The video showed Rachel's SUV in the drive-through lane, as well as Al-Hakim's light-colored sedan parked nearby moments before the shooting. The footage captured Al-Hakim exiting his car, approaching Rachel's SUV, and opening fire. Investigators also began piecing together Rachel's life, looking for anything that could explain why she had been targeted. Their search would soon uncover a tangled web of jealousy, obsession, and betrayal, one that had quietly been building for months. For Rachel's son, the days following her death were filled with confusion and heartbreak. He had not only lost his mother, but had also witnessed the horrific moment when she was taken from him. Rachel's family vowed to protect Jalen and help him heal, but they knew the road ahead would be long and difficult. Meanwhile, the police investigation continued to gain momentum. Detectives were determined to uncover the truth, and as they followed the evidence, a chilling picture began to emerge. It was becoming clear that Rachel's murder was not random. Instead, it appeared to be the result of a calculated and premeditated plot. What had started as an ordinary morning for Rachel and Jalen had turned into a devastating tragedy that left a community in a state of shock. But the search for justice was just beginning, and the answers that investigators uncovered would shed light on a dark and twisted motive behind Rachel's untimely death. As investigators dug deeper into the shocking murder of Rachel King, they unearthed a story of jealousy, obsession, and betrayal, a tangled web of relationships that ultimately led to her tragic death. What initially appeared to be a random act of violence turned out to be a calculated plot, orchestrated by individuals driven by resentment and a toxic entanglement of emotions. At the center of this devastating tale was a love triangle involving Rachel King, her boyfriend William Hayes, and a woman named Julie Jean. Rachel and William shared a loving and stable relationship, one that brought joy and structure to their lives. But William's past with Julie Jean, a 32-year-old woman from their community, added a layer of tension to their otherwise happy partnership. William and Julie had been romantically involved before he began his relationship with Rachel. Even after their breakup, Julie found it difficult to move on. She remained fixated on William and resented his choice to build a life with Rachel. This obsession turned into jealousy, and as time passed, Julie's feelings evolved into something far more dangerous. Julie began harassing William, bombarding him with phone calls and messages. Despite William's clear efforts to distance himself, she continued to reach out, refusing to accept that their relationship was over. When her attempts to win him back failed, Julie shifted her attention to Rachel, whom she viewed as the obstacle standing between her and William. Her animosity toward Rachel grew steadily, and by early 2023, it turned into a dangerous obsession. Julie started plotting ways to remove Rachel from the picture entirely. For Julie, eliminating Rachel seemed like the only way to reclaim the life she believed she deserved with William. In mid-February 2023, Julie reached out to Zaki Al-Hakim, a man she knew through family connections. Al-Hakim, 34, was no stranger to criminal activity. He had a history of run-ins with the law and was already under investigation for another homicide that occurred shortly before Rachel's murder. Julie saw him as the perfect accomplice to help execute her plan. At first, their communication seemed casual. They exchanged text messages and phone calls, but their conversations quickly took a darker turn. Julie began sharing details about Rachel with Al-Hakim, her routines, where she lived, the places she frequented, and even her daily schedule. Julie provided photos of Rachel and saved them on her phone, giving Al-Hakim the tools he needed to identify Rachel when the time came. The depth of Julie's obsession became clear as investigators later uncovered text messages and screenshots exchanged between her and Al-Hakim. These included Google Maps images showing Rachel's apartment complex and other locations she visited regularly. Julie meticulously planned every detail of the attack, ensuring that no aspect was left to chance. To facilitate the crime, Julie even purchased a getaway vehicle. In March 2023, she bought a Mercury Sable sedan from a dealership in Philadelphia. This car, nondescript and ordinary, was intended to blend in and avoid drawing attention. Surveillance footage would later reveal that this vehicle was seen near Rachel's home multiple times in the weeks leading up to her murder. As the plan took shape, Al-Hakim began following Rachel to learn her routines. He observed her movements, tracked her schedule, and familiarized himself with the places she visited. This stalking behavior escalated in the days leading up to the attack, as Al-Hakim positioned himself to carry out the plan Julie had so carefully crafted. The morning of April 11, 2023 was supposed to be an ordinary day for Rachel and her son Jalen. But that was the tragic day the life of Rachel King was ended. Unknown to Rachel, Al-Hakim was nearby, lying in wait. Surveillance footage from the Dunkin' Donuts would later show Al-Hakim's light-colored sedan parked a short distance away from Rachel's SUV. He had been watching her movements, waiting for the right moment to strike. The attack was swift and calculated. Rachel had no chance to defend herself or react. The gunfire echoed through the parking lot, leaving Jalen in a state of shock and confusion. He witnessed the horrifying scene unfold from the back seat, powerless to intervene. As the shots rang out, bystanders scrambled for cover, and the peaceful morning turned into chaos. Al-Hakim quickly returned to his vehicle and fled the scene, driving eastbound on Cheltenham Avenue. His escape was as calculated as the attack itself, leaving behind a devastated community and a shattered family. Investigations further revealed one particularly damning piece of evidence. It was a Cash App payment from Julie to Al-Hakim, accompanied by a message that investigators described as suggestive of urgency and secrecy. This payment, along with the text messages and surveillance footage, tied Julie directly to the crime. As investigators worked tirelessly to bring the culprits to justice, the community rallied around Rachel's family, offering support and comfort in the face of an unimaginable loss. Rachel's murder was not just a tragedy for her loved ones, it was a wake-up call for the entire community, highlighting the devastating consequences of jealousy and unchecked obsession. The evidence against Julie and Al-Hakim continued to mount, setting the stage for their eventual arrests. But the story of Rachel King's murder was far from over. The quest for justice had only just begun. The shocking murder of Rachel King shook the community, but the relentless efforts of investigators ensured the perpetrators would face justice. As evidence piled up against Julie Jean and Zaki Al-Hakim, law enforcement moved swiftly to bring them to account for their heinous crime. 2 weeks after Rachel's murder, on April 26, 2023, authorities arrested both suspects. Al-Hakim was apprehended following a dramatic chase that ended when he crashed his car into a fence while attempting to evade police in Philadelphia. Al-Hakim, already wanted for a separate homicide, was taken into custody, and his capture marked a significant step toward justice for Rachel's family. Julie Jean was arrested the same day. Despite her initial claims of innocence, investigators had gathered overwhelming evidence linking her to the murder. She was charged with first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder. Both Julie and Al-Hakim were held without bail as they awaited trial, with prosecutors labeling Julie as the mastermind behind the entire plot. Detectives meticulously reconstructed the events leading up to Rachel's death, piecing together the chilling story of premeditation and malice. Surveillance footage played a critical role in unraveling the crime. Video from the Dunkin' Donuts drive-thru captured Al-Hakim approaching Rachel's SUV and opening fire, leaving no doubt about his role as the shooter. Additional surveillance footage from nearby areas revealed the Mercury Sable sedan purchased by Julie Jean circling Rachel's neighborhood in the weeks before the attack. This indicated that Al-Hakim had been stalking Rachel, familiarizing himself with her daily routine. The police had also discovered that Julie had also deleted over 700 text messages just minutes before being questioned by police. But forensic experts were able to recover many of these, exposing her involvement in the plot. Ballistics evidence further tied Al-Hakim to the crime. Shell casings recovered at the scene of Rachel's murder matched bullets fired from a ghost gun, a privately built firearm with no serial number, belonging to Al-Hakim. This same weapon was linked to the other homicide for which he was under investigation, solidifying his role in Rachel's killing. The trial of Julie Jean and Zaki Al-Hakim began in November 2024, more than a year after Rachel's tragic death. The courtroom was filled with Rachel's family, friends, and community members who came to seek justice and show their support for her loved ones. The prosecution, led by District Attorney Kevin Steele, presented a compelling case against the two defendants. They argued that Julie, driven by jealousy and resentment, had orchestrated the murder to eliminate Rachel from her life and reclaim her former relationship with William Hayes. Julie was portrayed as the mastermind, while Al-Hakim was depicted as the willing accomplice who executed her plan. The prosecution detailed how Julie and Al-Hakim had meticulously planned the attack, from stalking Rachel to purchasing the getaway vehicle and mapping out her daily routine. Key testimonies played a significant role in the trial. William Hayes, Rachel's boyfriend, took the stand to share his experiences with both women. He described how Julie's behavior became increasingly erratic after their breakup and how her harassment escalated over time. He also recounted the steps he had taken to protect Rachel and himself, including filing a protection from abuse order against Julie. Forensic experts testified about the digital evidence linking Julie and Al-Hakim to the murder. Text messages, call logs, and GPS data painted a clear picture of their conspiracy. The surveillance footage and ballistics evidence further reinforced the prosecution's case. On November 14, 2024, after weeks of testimony and deliberation, the jury delivered its verdict. Both Julie Jean and Zaki Al-Hakim were found guilty of first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder. The courtroom erupted in a mixture of relief and sorrow as Rachel's family and supporters finally saw justice served. The judge wasted no time in proceeding to the sentencing phase. Julie and Al-Hakim were both sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. For Rachel's family, the sentence provided some measure of closure, though the pain of her loss remained profound. At a press conference following the sentencing, Rachel's father, Alan King Jr., spoke about his daughter's legacy and the impact of her loss. "People have asked if knowing the how, the why, the when is important to us," he said. "But the truth is, it doesn't change the outcome. It doesn't bring Rachel back." His words resonated deeply with those who had been following the case, highlighting the enduring grief felt by Rachel's loved ones. Rachel King's death left a lasting impact on her community. She was remembered as a kind and dedicated teacher, a loving mother, and a cherished friend. Her colleagues and students at Grover Cleveland Elementary School honored her memory with a memorial garden, a space where her kindness and compassion would never be forgotten. Rachel's young son, Jalen, faced a long road of healing after witnessing his mother's murder. Supported by his family and the community, he began to process the trauma and find ways to move forward. When he learned that those responsible for his mother's death would never harm anyone else, he reportedly smiled, finding solace in the justice served. The tragic story of Rachel King is an important reminder of the dangers of unchecked jealousy and obsession. It serves as a call to action for society to address the underlying issues that lead to such senseless acts of violence. Rachel's murder highlighted the importance of recognizing the warning signs of toxic behavior and taking proactive steps to prevent similar tragedies. It also underscored the need for stronger measures to protect victims of harassment and abuse. While Rachel's life was cut short, her legacy lives on in the memories of those who knew and loved her. Her story serves as a beacon of hope and a reminder of the resilience of the human spirit in the face of unimaginable loss. Rachel King will never be forgotten, and her memory will continue to inspire those who fight for justice, compassion, and a better world. Thank you for watching our video. Share your thoughts with us in the comment section, and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. Remember to hit the notification bell for more videos.